All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, last year, the AFC North sent three teams to the playoffs. And as there is a litany of talent in this division, will they be able to do it again? I want to start off with the Baltimore Ravens. And when you think about the Ravens, you think about quarterback Lamar Jackson. Now he is 30-7 as a starting quarterback, and now he has a playoff win on his resume. We saw this Ravens club go on the road in a wild card round and defeat the Tennessee Titans last year, and they ran into a buzzsaw as that Buffalo Bills defense really gave them fits in the second round. Now for the Ravens, they got to find a way to build off of that and see if they can take the next step as a team. And it's going to start with number 8 at under center rather. Now you think about the Ravens and you think about their rushing attack, and Baltimore led the NFL in rushing last season. It's going to be a little bit tougher this year because J.K. Dobbins unfortunately was lost for the year to a torn ACL. You still have Gus Edwards and you still have Lamar Jackson, but I still want to see who's going to step up and be that other ball carrier for this Baltimore offense. Now, the Ravens do have some explosiveness in their passing attack. I want to see if Hollywood Brown is going to take that next step as a wide receiver. Of course, last year he was really getting his footing under him. Let's see if he can build off of that. We saw the Ravens pick up former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Sammy Watkins, who can also stretch the field. And you also have tight end Mark Andrews for the underneath stuff. Now, the Ravens did make some adjustments on their offensive line. They traded Orlando Brown to Kansas City this offseason. They have Ronnie Stanley returning from injury, and they also picked up former Pittsburgh Steeler Alejandro Villanueva to be an offensive tackle. And I think right now, both tackle positions are really shored up. Don't get me wrong, Orlando Brown was a stud. I think he's going to be a stud for that Kansas City offense protecting Patrick Mahomes, but you still have two quality bookend offensive tackles if you are the Ravens. When you think about the Baltimore Ravens over the years, you think about what they do on defense, and you look at it, you have some veterans up front with the likes of Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe. But then you look at this secondary with some quality players in Marlon Humphrey, excuse me, and Marcus Peters. And that's going to be important when you think about this pass happy NFL that we're currently in. You need guys on that back end that could cover and also have range. With that said, I definitely think the Ravens are definitely going to be in contention to win this division. Now, speaking of winning this division, the Pittsburgh Steelers did that last season, but it did not, feel like that. Pittsburgh began the season with a record of 11-0, and they only finished 12-4. And I say that they only finished 12-4, but nonetheless, the way that the Steelers were starting, you figured that everything was in place for Pittsburgh to make a Super Bowl run. Their offense really faltered. Their D was good until that playoff game. Of course, the offense didn't help them out with all of the turnovers in their loss to Cleveland. But, Pittsburgh's got to play better. You look at quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, this could be it for him at quarterback. The Steelers lost running back James Conner in free agency to Arizona, but they used the first round pick on former Alabama running back Najee Harris. Harris is a very physical back that will fit the mold as far as what the Steelers want to do. It's just the biggest thing is, how much wear and tear does he have on his legs entering the NFL, because he had a lot of carries during his time in Tuscaloosa with Alabama. Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver, really needs to step up. And the Steelers do have some questions on his O-line. We talked about Alejandro Villanueva now with the Ravens. Marquise Pouncey retired and David DeCastro was released. These were three longtime veterans on this offensive line for Pittsburgh, and they've got to pick it up. I think what Pittsburgh needs to do offensively this season even more, they got to run the football, because I think too much and too often Pittsburgh was trying to go back there and pass last season. And, this offense is better when they're balanced, and this offense is better. The passing attack is rather better when they're feeding off of that running game. There's still a litany of talent on the defensive side of the football for Pittsburgh. You look at some of these veterans such as Cam Hayward, Devin Bush coming back from injury, TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick, just to name a few. But for Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, this team has not won a playoff game since 2016. And that's hard to fathom when you think about the Steelers and their rich tradition. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Steelers are going to be able to use last season's ending as fuel to their fire to try to build off of that for 2021. You look at the Cleveland Browns, and they're looking to build off of their breakthrough season last year. We saw the Brownies make the playoffs as a wild card. They made the playoffs for the first time since 2002. They won a playoff game for the first time since 1994. You cannot overlook that as far as what the Browns did. But now what the Browns have to do, they've got to find a way to do what the good teams do. And what the good teams do is they consistently make the playoffs year after year. This is something that Cleveland has not done since 1989. See, last year, nobody expected that much out of the Browns. Now people are expecting things from you. So what are you going to do? Kevin Stefanski had a very solid season as his first year head coach in Cleveland in 2020. And, a lot of people are high on Baker Mayfield taking the next step at quarterback. I'm going to say the same thing for Baker Mayfield that I've been saying the last couple of years. Baker Mayfield is going to be as good as this Browns running game is, and he'll be able to feed off of that. And we saw that last year. The combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt give Cleveland two of the better running backs in the NFL. And I think they need to once again feed off of that because you have the talent at wide receiver that can really, decimate an opposing defense via play action. You look at Jarvis Landry, and of course, Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back from the ACL injury. And a lot of people are high on Odell Beckham after what they've seen from him so far in training camp. So I think the recipe for Cleveland is going to be the same as far as feeding their two quality backs to open things up for their passing game. Myles Garrett, you look at what he can do in this Cleveland defense, rushing the passer, and that's going to be important because the Browns need to get some physicality and more physicality if they want to try to take that next step. But I think the biggest thing for Cleveland, they've got to go out there and be consistent, and they've got to seize the moment. And again, I can't say this enough. It's a little bit different when people are expecting you to win and you have to win. Last year, the Browns, that was not the case for the Browns. Let's see how they build off of that for 2020. And finally, there's the Cincinnati Bengals. And these young Bengals, they've got to find their footing in one of the toughest divisions in the National Football League, if not the toughest. And it's easier said than done. You look at the losing culture that has plagued the Bengals for so many years. Right now, looking at the present, 5 consecutive losing seasons for Cincinnati. And for their young head coach, Zach Taylor, and their young quarterback, Joe Burrow, they got to find a way to turn that around. Of course, Joe Burrow is coming back from that horrific knee injury that he suffered last year. But you know what? There was talent on this offense last year for Cincinnati, and there still is talent there. You look at running back Joe Mixon, but you look at this passing game at wide receiver with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, and the first round pick Jamar Chase. I know that people have been critical of him as far as dropping some passes here in the preseason, but I think at some point Chase will figure it out, and he'll be an impact guy for this Cincinnati offense. But you look at it for the Bengals. They're a young team, and they've got to try to find a way to get their footing. It's not going to be easy just due to the fact that they play in this division. You look at Cincinnati, you look at Cleveland, you look at Pittsburgh, and you look at Baltimore. Not only are all three of these teams capable of winning the division, but they're also capable of doing some damage in the postseason this January. So this is what Cincinnati's got to deal with. 6 tough games right off the shoot, not to mention with who else they have to face. So I think with that said, it's going to be imperative for the Bengals to pick up as many wins possible outside of the division against some of the weaker teams in order to get some confidence for themselves. But at the end of the day, I think the Browns, the Steelers, and Ravens are going to all slug it out. Even with the injury to J.K. Dobbins, I think that the Ravens still have enough to win this division. I like what Lamar Jackson is doing at quarterback, and I think he can find a way to build off of last year's playoff win and get some confidence for himself. And that's going to be huge for this team going forward. The Pittsburgh Steelers, it's gut check time for them because, Big Ben ain't getting any younger. And if you're going to win, the opportunity is there for you now. But like I said, Pittsburgh needs more balance on offense. Cleveland, I think Cleveland's going to be a force, and I think the Browns are going to be up for the challenge as far as everybody expecting them to win. It's just the fact that this division is so doggone tough, and I think that's going to make it that much more difficult for them to win this division. All three of these teams know how important it is for you to win this division because you want to get that home playoff game. With that said, we're down to just one bye in each conference right now, so I think it's going to be so tough for one of these teams from the AFC North this time around to get themselves a bye, just due to the fact that they beat up on each other so much. But nonetheless, this is the toughest division in the NFL. It's a black and blue division, a lot of physicality in there. And I think when the chin straps are buckled up, you're going to be in for some quality football from the AFC North here in 2021. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.